This story is based on publicly available interviews, legal filings, and media reports. All individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty. This content is for educational purpose for the body of Christ and public interest. She was just a teenager, full of fire for God, eager to serve in church, and hungry for truth. But what she didn't know was that behind the pulpit stood a man not sent to feed her spirit, but to feed on her innocence. This is not just another church scandal. This is a confession that broke the silence of an entire generation. A pastor accused of forcing a child to sleep with her, a congregation in denial, and a woman who stood up to speak, knowing the church might crucify her for it. Her name is Busola Dakolo. And his name is Biodun Fatoyinbo, the founder of COZA. And this is the story that forced Nigeria to ask, can the church still be trusted? This is not about gossip. This is about truth, about healing, and about calling out the darkness, even when it hides under the name of pastor. So before you judge, before you comment, before you defend what you do not know, listen. Because sometimes, the loudest demons were the quietest callers. My brothers and sisters, this channel exists because we believe the church should be a place of light, not darkness. A place where you can encounter God on your own terms, beyond the walls and beyond the words of imperfect men. We're here to expose the hidden shadows, so you can walk freely in the light. To remind you that your relationship with God is personal, sacred, and beyond manipulation. Now, let's get into the story of the day. Before the accusations, before the protests, before the name COZA became a national headline for all the wrong reasons. He was the star pastor, stylish, smooth, spirit-filled. Young people called him Papa. Elders called him anointed. And his followers, they called him a man of God sent for this generation. His name is Biodun Fatoyinbo, founder and global senior pastor of the Commonwealth of Zion Assembly, known as COZA. What began in Ilorin, Kwara State, as a small student fellowship, would grow into one of Nigeria's most recognizable megachurches. Fatoyinbo didn't just build a church, he built a brand. A gospel where favor looked like Ferraris, and grace wore Gucci. Where testimonies weren't just spiritual, they were financial. Young professionals and influencers flocked to him. He preached in English, dressed in designer, and never apologized for prosperity. In a world where many pastors were seen as old and out of touch, he was different. But behind the flash, the charisma, and the magnetic confidence, there were whispers. Whispers that some chose to ignore. Whispers that some knew, but dared not speak. And it wasn't just his sermons that drew attention. It was the stories women told in silence. And one of those women was about to risk everything to speak out. But before we meet her, you must understand how power protects itself in the church, and how image can become stronger than truth. When the man behind the pulpit learns to speak your language, wear your skin, and call himself your shepherd. Before the interviews, before the headlines, she was just a girl, a Nigerian teenager, living in Ilorin, trying to find her place in church, in life, in God. Her name was Busola. She was full of faith, full of fire, full of trust in the men who stood behind the pulpit. And then came the man everyone respected, Pastor Biodun Fatoyinbo, a young, confident preacher with charisma that lit up every room. A man who spoke with the boldness of a prophet and the charm of a celebrity. Busola's family admired him. Her sisters attended the same church. He wasn't a stranger. He was a spiritual father, a trusted voice. When he started paying attention to her, it felt like a blessing. Like God was noticing her through him. She didn't know that trust would be used against her. She didn't know that what began as mentorship would twist into manipulation. And that what looked like pastoral care would turn into spiritual abuse. Busola was only a teenager when Pastor Biodun invited her to visit him. At first, it was casual. Then personal. Then private. She said he came to her house one morning when her parents were away. She was in her pajamas. Unaware. Unprepared. And then, he had his way with her. I believe you all understand what that means. He didn't say a word. He didn't ask. He just did it. Busola said she froze. That the shock was too much for her mind to hold. That she couldn't tell anyone. Not her sisters. Not her pastor. Not even her parents. And just when she thought it was over, it happened again, this time, in his car. She was broken. But she still kept silent. Because how do you explain that your pastor is your predator? So she went silent again. She said it destroyed her confidence. That her faith felt like a prison. That she walked through church doors every Sunday, carrying a secret so heavy. Even God felt distant. And so she buried it. She tried to forget. She tried to forgive herself for what wasn't even her fault. She moved on. Got married. Became a mother. But deep in her soul, the pain never left, until one day, something in her broke, or maybe, something in her finally healed. And she decided, enough. She would tell her story, to the world, to the church, to every girl still hiding in the silence. And when she did, the walls of COZA would shake. In 2019, Busola Dakolo made a decision that would change everything. She stepped into the spotlight, not to seek fame or revenge, but to break a silence that had trapped her for years. In a groundbreaking interview with Niger, she told the world her story, the story of a young girl betrayed by a man who was meant to protect her. She alleged that Pastor Biodun Fatoyinbo forced himself and had his way with her not once, but twice, in the space of a single week. 2 separate incidents, 1 week apart. One of those assaults allegedly happened inside her family home while her parents were away. She said, and I quote, "He didn't say anything. He just kept going. I was numb." Busola described the emotional aftermath as devastating. She was left feeling confused, isolated, traumatized. She said she felt pressured into silence. Afraid to speak because she didn't want to be branded a liar. Afraid to confront the man whose sermons preached morality. Afraid to lose her family's faith and the church community she loved. Her brave confession sent shockwaves through Nigeria's religious community, igniting fierce debate, disbelief, and anger. But for Busola, the fight had only just begun. As soon as Busola Dakolo's allegation became public, the world watched closely, but the church she once trusted did not respond with compassion. Pastor Biodun Fatoyinbo was swift to respond. He denied every claim, calling the allegations false, malicious, and a lie. COZA's official response echoed his denial. The church leadership rallied around their founder, urging followers to stand firm and reject what they called smear campaigns. The church's handling of the scandal divided Nigeria's Christian community. Some believed the accusations were a coordinated attack against a respected man of God. Others saw it as a watershed moment, a call to confront long-hidden abuses. The scandal ignited the #Church2 movement in Nigeria, where survivors began to share their stories of abuse by religious leaders. For many, Busola's courage became a beacon of hope. But the backlash was fierce. Busola and her family faced intense criticism, threats, and harassment. Some church members accused her of lying to destroy the church's reputation. Fatoyinbo temporarily stepped down from COZA's leadership, claiming the break was to clear his name, but later returned to the pulpit amid continuing controversy. The public outcry forced Nigerian society to confront uncomfortable questions. How many more are suffering in silence? How does power protect predators? And most importantly, can justice ever truly be served when faith and fear collide? You see, after the nation held its breath, Busola Dakolo took her fight beyond headlines and hashtags. She filed a civil lawsuit against Pastor Biodun Fatoyinbo, demanding justice for the trauma she endured. The lawsuit shook Nigeria's religious establishment. For many survivors, it was a beacon of hope, proof that even the most powerful could be held accountable. But in late 2019, the High Court in Abuja dismissed the case. Not on the basis of innocence or guilt, I repeat this one, not on the basis of innocence or guilt, but on a legal technicality, the statute of limitations. Under Nigerian law, cases like Busola's must be brought within a specific time frame. And the court ruled that the claim was too old to proceed. This dismissal did not declare Pastor Fatoyinbo innocent. It only meant the legal system could not prosecute due to procedural limits. Meanwhile, Fatoyinbo countersued Busola, filing a defamation claim and demanding damages, a move many saw as an attempt to silence her and intimidate other survivors. The legal battle sparked a media firestorm. News outlets debated the implications for religious leaders, survivors' rights, and Nigeria's justice system. For Busola, the courtroom was another battlefield. A place where truth, power, and law collided, and where silence still threatened to win. You see, speaking out was never easy. For Busola Dakolo, the moment she chose truth over silence, her life changed forever. The church that once embraced her turned cold. Some accused her of fabricating stories to damage Pastor Fatoyinbo's reputation. Others branded her a liar, calling into question her faith, her family, even her character. Busola and her husband, celebrated singer Timi Dakolo, faced harassment, threats, and intimidation. The weight of public opinion pressed heavily on their shoulders. But through the storm, Busola remained resolute. She understood that speaking the truth could save others from silence and suffering. This is what she said in one of her interviews, and I quote, "I spoke because I wanted to heal, and I wanted others to know they are not alone. My brothers and sisters." Her bravery sparked a movement, empowering other survivors to step forward, breaking decades of church silence. Yet the cost was real. The pain was deep. The scars invisible. Busola's story is not just about one woman or one pastor. It's about the courage it takes to confront power, and the price survivors pay in a world still learning to listen. Years have passed since Busola Dakolo bravely stepped forward to tell her truth. But the story is far from over. Busola has become a voice for survivors, advocating for justice, healing, and reform within the Nigerian church. Her courage inspired many to share their own stories, breaking the cycle of silence that has long protected abusers. Pastor Biodun Fatoyinbo, meanwhile, took a leave of absence from COZA but later returned to the pulpit, still a figure of controversy and division. His loyal followers continued to defend him, arguing that the allegations were an attack on the church's reputation. But for many Nigerians, the scandal raised uncomfortable questions about accountability, faith, and the abuse of spiritual authority. The COZA scandal revealed a deeper problem, a system where power and influence can overshadow truth, and where victims often face a choice, silence or isolation. Busola's story remains a beacon, a reminder that speaking out is the first step toward healing, and that no one should ever have to suffer in silence. The church must change. The voices of survivors must be heard. And the light of truth must shine, even in the darkest corners. The pulpit should be a place of refuge, not a predator's hunting ground. This story isn't just about one man, it's about a system that protects power over truth. It challenges the culture of silencing victims in church spaces. The story of Busola Dakolo and Pastor Biodun Fatoyinbo is more than just headlines and scandals. It's a call to every believer, every seeker, and every soul longing for truth. Again, this channel exists because we believe the church should be a place of light, not darkness. A place where you can encounter God on your own terms, beyond the walls and beyond the words of imperfect men. We're here to expose the hidden shadows, so you can walk freely in the light. To remind you that your relationship with God is personal, sacred, and beyond manipulation. If this story moved you, if it opened your eyes, or if it stirred something deep inside, then don't stop here. Explore our previous uploads, where more voices speak out, more secrets are revealed, and more truth is uncovered. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because the journey toward truth is ongoing, and we have more stories coming that will challenge, awaken, and inspire. Remember, the power to see God is in your hands. And the courage to seek truth starts with listening. Thank you for watching. Stay strong. Stay aware. And stay faithful to your own path.